Hey everybody, what's going on? Anthony Velvet Hall here. Welcome to another edition of THESPIANWERX. That's right, THESPIANWERX with Anthony Velvet Hall. Once again, all the world is a stage, but not everything on the stage is the same. So what I do is I bring people together and let them get on stage and tell you about their truth, about their art, and what they bring to entertainment. And tonight's guest is a very interesting guy, a man of many hats, and I'm going to speak to him and we're going to talk about filmmaking and other things. So I'm going to bring him on and give him the introduction he definitely needs.
Hi, everybody. Velvet, thanks for having me, man.
There he is, ladies and gentlemen. This man right here, like I said before, wears many, many hats, but he's a filmmaker who is very, very focused on giving people quality work. And you should definitely see some of the things he has out there. Trust me. Some will make you laugh. Some will make you cry. Some will inspire you. He does a little bit of everything. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight's guest is filmmaker JT Schindler. JT, how are you, my friend?
Ooh, thanks for having me, Velvet. I appreciate you having me on. I'm honored, actually. This is cool.
Hey, nothing wrong with that, man. Thanks for being on here. I understand that you are in New York.
I am in New York. I was telling you, I've been shoveling snow for the past 4 hours. I feel good. I feel strong. I feel like a man right now.
Hey, that's understandable. Trust me. I know about it. Like I was telling you, I grew up in New Jersey. So, when we wanted to make a little money, we go and run up the stairs to different apartments and get our shovel. Do you want us to shovel the snow, shovel your car out of the snow and stuff? And yeah, we get a little money for that. So that was always fun.
I was shoveling my own driveway, and I saw 2 or 3 people walk in front of me and give me the eyes, like, you taking my job? I'm like, it's my driveway, man. I'm not stealing money from you. There's people down there, trust me.
Oh, man, people are just... Oh, yeah, trust me. Believe me, I know. And like, yeah, you're in New York. Enough said, man.
Yeah,
enough said, believe me. Yeah, absolutely, enough said. So tell us a little bit about JT Schindler. Tell us where you're from and where your interest in filmmaking began.
So I'm from Ohio originally, and one of the things that actually interested me about you is I saw that you're a martial artist. I started out in a dojo at 4 years old. Wow. I was the youngest student my sensei ever took, and she never took someone as young as me again. I was a handful. And I really got interested in like martial arts films because, Sensei would play them for us. That was a part of the dojo was, hey, let's watch Three Ninjas. Let's watch Jackie Chan, and I thought it was so cool to see Bruce Lee in these like tower fights. And I feel like a lot of my interest in filmmaking started there because kata, as you know, is very much a theatrical performance as much as it's a demonstration of skill. And so this started to give me the bug. I started getting into acting. I did martial arts my entire life. I've studied multiple forms. I saw you have done the same. And then, when I got into high school, I started doing theater, small films with friends. You get to college and it's like, oh, I need to make money. Okay, so how do you make money doing this? And I graduated. I started working on a lot of indie projects in New York. And that got me onto the radar of comedians in cars getting coffee with Seinfeld. So I actually joined that project in their camera department. I worked with them for several years, and I ended up actually penning a script for Seinfeld. And in perfect Seinfeld fashion, he went, that's funny. No laughter. He didn't change. He like barely looked at me as he said it, But unfortunately, that script didn't end up going anywhere. It was, if you ever seen the show, they call it the Dick Corcoran sketches. It was like when he talked to the boss at Crackle, and I penned a script for this. And I really I still have that script somewhere kicking around. I left there and I went on to work with Above Average, which is an SNL subsidiary. So I started doing a lot of camera work for them. I started DPing for them. And then that got me into Comedy Central. And at the end of all of this, it was like, man, comedy does not make money. And that was the whole thing. It's like, I want to be a filmmaker, but if it doesn't make money, it doesn't make sense.
Right.
So I started figuring out, all right, so what is the business aspect of it? And I started jumping into producing. And that got me linked up with, I hope the movie you saw, Homesick, with the South Korean
Yes.
director Hui Sung. So she came to me with this project. I took the script from her, I rewrote it, I handed it back to her, and that became like the light bulb moment, I would say, in my filmmaking career. Is like, oh, this is how you make a movie. Collaboration, cooperation, and then, okay, where do we get the money? Where do we get the crew? Where do we get the gear? Insurance? What's insurance? So figuring out who do I got to talk to get insurance? So that, to me, if anybody watches a film I've made, I would say watch Homesick. I'm very proud of this film. And that has thrusted me into where I am today. You know, my last film, Killer Raccoons 2, which is a bizarre comedy. You like that movie? Oh my God, man!
I'm definitely getting into that, but continue.
Yeah, that movie. Oh, so the dude who directed it, he came up to me and said, "Hey, man, I want to make a feature film." And I was like, "Okay, you know, I'm getting into that. What's up?" He's like, "It's about killer raccoons on a train, Under Siege 2 style." I'm like, "You had me at Killer Raccoons, my man. Let's make that movie."
Yeah.
So I put it all on the line for him, and I actually DP'd that film and produced it and UPM'd it. So I put an easy rig on my back for 8 days and shot that movie. I got on it. Yeah, I shot the principal of that film in 8 days. I worked 12 to 14 hours a day. I ended up cutting my rate, I think, by 80% so I could pay crew members. I was like, I'm making this movie, whatever I gotta do. And I think it paid off because it's a stupid comedy. It's so dumb. I have to say, it's like the dumbest comedy I've ever made. But we got distribution by Lionsgate. That movie
that's awesome.
Yeah, that movie got picked up. And in 2020, until Sacha Baron Cohen released his film, we were the #1 new comedy in America because we had released it and there was no other new comedy. It was a giant asterisk next to our name, but it was like, I'll hold on. We're in the top 10, you know, like top 10 movies for 2020 for new comedy.
Yeah.
Following Killer Raccoons, I started, you know, getting back into day playing, trying to work on my films, which is sort of where I'm at now. Is I'm producing a film that I wrote, that I'm directing. It's called Fatima, and the movie takes place in India. So I was in India right before like lockdown and everything happened. And I was sitting at a table with a company. I was sitting at a table with a company, and they were telling me how they had just won 5 Oscars. They were telling me about they had just worked on Black Panther, and I was like, cool. Look at my phone for a text. Hey, it says my flight might be canceled. I appreciate the coffee. This has been incredible. But I have to run out of the country immediately. And that was like back in March, and now we're here. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
I've had to, every single project I have has been pushed a year to 2 years. But I've been all in on Fatima pretty much for the past year and a half. I'm really excited about this movie. And I'm more excited to talk to you just about filmmaking and what you're doing. I know you're acting all over the place.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm just trying to get my feet and dip my toes in some of everything, man. Just trying to be a part of, I guess, any and every genre. I like to challenge myself. I don't like to stay in one box, because a lot of actors that I know are like, okay, well, if you get typecasted, if nothing else, that means you'll always have a job. And that's cool to some people. But to me, I'm a creative person, and I always want to try to push the limits of my creativity and my ability to act. So that's why I want to get into acting and be as good an actor as I possibly can by learning as much as I can and being on as many different sets as I possibly can. But and speaking about that, you mentioned film, and you mentioned money and the money needed to make films. And I won't even say in recent years, but it almost feels like there've been a lot of remakes of movies. Yeah. And some people who are creatives kind of feel like one of the reasons that is because a lot of people don't really want to take that much of a chance financially on their own projects. So, if that is being said, do you feel that maybe creativity is taking a back seat to somebody who just wants to make a quick buck?
It really depends on who you're doing business with. I have seen sort of the divergence in the industry, and Hollywood. If you want to follow this model, if you want to make movies with Hollywood, they're not going to make a movie with you if you've not made money before.
Right.
That's just the rule. Like, there's no reason for Hollywood to put $10 million down, $100 million down, if they're not going to make $200 million off of you. The risk does not benefit them. So if you're looking at a new director, they need to do their own film. They need to finance it. And so many artists just don't know how financing works, which I was totally a victim of that. I had no idea what money was or where it came from. And I think too many people are under this notion that, like, if I don't pay for it, I don't own it. And that's like the hardest lesson to teach people when it comes to raising money for films is don't spend your own money. Get somebody else to finance your film. Exactly. Well, how do you do that? Is you make a pitch deck and then you sell. And that was the biggest lesson for me, is that I needed to become a salesman. I needed to learn about the SEC, like their effect on the industry. I needed to learn about commissions, because that's my biggest way to raise money. Is if I'm like, hey, Velvet, if you raise $1 million for my project, I'll give you $100,000 out of that $1 million. Take 10%, it's yours before taxes. Just have it. Because that's how business works. And that's how you get movies made. A lot of people, they think that they can make a feature on $80,000 that they saved up and it's their entire life savings. And it just breaks my heart, because I've worked on that movie. I made that movie. And it was like, yeah, man, but now you have no money, no distribution model, and no return strategy. Right. So how are you going to recoup those losses? And it's tough, because if we want to make movies, they have to make money. But we make movies because we want to express ourselves creatively as artists. So it's like, where do you marry that? And there is a give and take on both sides. And I don't have all the answers there. You know, I'm not perfect, but I'm learning the dance. And my biggest lesson for all of this actually came from college. Is I had a professor. This dude was a nut job. So this dude was absolutely insane. He used to paint arrows on his pants pointing down, and he told people it's because he didn't believe in gravity. The rumor was that he had taken a little too much acid. You know, like, you could do acid, but he did that like too much acid level, like around the 70s. But he also was the only person with a mural on campus that was untouched, and it went an entire wall, but then also like up under a bridge, and no one ever saw him paint it. So it was clear that he was a genius, you know, like he was very talented. But he taught this class called Art in Your Life. And you came to class, and he said, I'm going to split the class into two groups, blue group, red group. Blue group sits over there, red group sits over there. I'm taking away all your names. You all get numbers. And I was like, okay. And then he went, numbers, what are those? Those come from the sky. The sky is blue, but blue is a color, and color is what we see. And he would do that for an hour and a half.
Oh, wow.
He did that every day for an hour and a half. And then the last day, we're all just like pulling our hair out. Like, what is happening? He goes, you pay tuition. It was suddenly like a sober moment, and everyone like clicked in. You pay tuition. Tuition goes to the university, which pays my college. The college then pays me to stand up here and talk bullshit for an hour and a half. That's art. That's what art is. Get paid to do nothing. And then he just walked away, and it was like, oh my God. He just destroyed a room of people. Because, you know, as an artist, you think it's all about like expressing yourself, and it is. And I don't want to take that away from people. But Banksy gets paid. Banksy makes money, and none of us know who Banksy is.
Wow.
Think about that. That man is the most famous artist in the world, and you have no clue what he looks like. We know it's a he. That's
Mm,
been proven, but that's
right.
it. Some of the most famous artists in the world make so much money, and you just don't really, they don't have fame. And I feel like
Right.
that's the
Exactly.
thing we have to separate when we start talking about filmmaking. In your case, we'll say acting, and I'm sure you seem like a very entrepreneurial person. You'll probably get into
Yeah.
producing and things like this at some
Yeah.
point.
I want to. I want to.
You should, because that's where the control is. When you
Exactly.
control the distribution, you control the return on the eyeballs, because that's all distribution is.
Hmm.
That's how you control the flow of art. And I think the skill becomes sneaking in art, sneaking in messages that are layered by a product that's profitable. And so it becomes like this odd lasagna of filmmaking and artistic representation where it's like a whole bunch of cheese, a
Right.
lot of spice, a very, very expensive meat that I hope you will taste later, and then some more cheese.
Uh-huh.
Like, and that's the trick to all of this for me, is expressing yourself, being fulfilled as an artist 100%, but making enough money that you can make your next movie.
Absolutely. And that's where a lot of people really kind of find themselves in a strange conundrum in a sense, because there's always this need to want to express yourself. Of
Hmm.
course, when people start writing and putting things from here on the paper and it goes to the storyboard and all that other kind of stuff, a lot of times there are people who want the entire story told the way they want it told. But then things happen. Things happen. There are things that are left out of the story for various reasons. Time constraints, or maybe sometimes things may offend certain people or whatever.
Yeah.
And then sometimes the motivation behind the art tends to get lost in translation. And then that's where people start getting confused. Well, just like you said, what's the most important thing? Is it that I tell my story and tell it in the way that I want to, or is it that, there's that I profiteer off of it ultimately? And that's
It's
where that's
such
this is
like,
it's
it's
a
this,
slippery
right?
slope.
Yeah, it's
It's
this
such a
whole
slippery
thing.
slope.
And
Yeah,
to me, it's like little bit of a dance, and you have to be flexible, because sometimes when you're leading, the partner does something and you have to react to it. And if you
absolutely.
don't, you will stumble, you will fall. And like, it's so important to be reactive and
Mhm.
be flexible so that you can keep that dance going. Oh my gosh.
That's right, because you cannot ignore. You have to stay in tune with the rhythm. You
Hmm.
have to stay in tune with the synergy, because if you don't, then everything just looks odd
It
and it
does.
doesn't make any sense.
It'll feel forced. And we often talk about a my sets. What's the
Mhm.
vibe? What's the energy? Because
Right.
that will get imprinted on the actors ultimately. If somebody is like kind of not feeling it, they're talking about, oh, the food is crap today, the director's being a dick, the actor's going to hear that. And now their facial expression, even if it's slight, you know it. You've been on a
Yeah.
bad set.
Oh God.
Like,
Yeah.
you react to that energy. And if I'm not giving you good vibes, God, I just fucked my entire. Can I swear? I apologize.
Oh, go right ahead.
Okay, yeah, no, I mean, I just fucked my entire project. Like, it's
Yeah.
that is a real thing to me, and it's why I am such a proponent of crew and talent first. Keep
Mhm.
the people happy, whatever they need, so that we have a good product to put forward later. Something you brought up that I want to touch on right now is about
Okay.
the idea of the script, the story,
Mhm.
and how integral is it to tell my story. So to me, this starts to fall under that auteur theory, the idea that like the writer director is this enigma, and it's like, how
Mhm.
full of shit are you, person?
Yeah.
Like, when I wrote Fatima, I handed the script out to the people I trusted, and they came back black line, red line. Oh, dude, just destroyed it.
Oh
And it was
man.
like, thank you. Because we took it and we put all those changes in, and then I showed it to another person, and they went, this is beautiful. I want to make this right now. And it's like, because you need other people in the room. And
Right.
one of the most important things I did, and I have to say this, is I went to women I trusted first.
Hmm.
Because if there's not a woman at the table, you're making a mistake.
Right.
Then I went to men. And that's because I'm a male author. I needed to hear a woman's opinion first to be like, yo, this is offensive. It's like, whoops, let's clean that up. And then you
Absolutely.
take it to a man who I might relate to easier.
Hmm.
Let's just say it that way. And if they were like, oh, that's cool, it's like, I'm on track. Let's keep going. That was integral to me. My wife is co-writer on my script because she was like, hey, I love your message. I like what you're doing with this script. But the language right here, you don't need to curse here. You don't need to, it doesn't need to be so violent.
Right.
And it's like, interesting. Tell me more. And that
Hmm.
changed everything in the script because you can still tell your story. You can still
Hmm.
get your message across, even if you change one or two words, even if you just change the color of something.
Right.
What is more important, getting to the finish line or
Hmm.
getting your thing dragged and shoved? I don't know. In my opinion, it's getting to the finish line with the best possible thing I can.
Totally agree. Totally agree. Now, I watched the trailer
Yeah,
or the film pitch
yeah,
for
yeah, yeah.
Fatima, and which was very good. It's very enlightening. The story was told by the beautiful Viana Sinan.
Yep.
And in speaking about it, one of the things that she talked about more than anything else was the fact that when the story was being told, there was something about it that, like the story itself has been altered by history, and
Yeah.
that you guys wanted to tell the story a certain way. Now, even though this is a film in which you'll be doing that, have you ever been inspired to tell another story, not this one, but maybe another one, in which history may not have given it its just due, or being that you are a very big proponent of gender equality, has not been fair to women?
It's my entire career. So Fatima actually comes from me researching a feature film that does exactly what you're saying. There's a story I've been developing for a couple years now where we've all been told about this like certain king that exists, and everybody praises that dude like 100%, and they're all like, "Yo, this king is the greatest king in the world."
Right.
And when I was researching, and I found out that his third wife was actually responsible for everything he did in history, and they completely deleted her. And so that was the thing. I was like, are you joking? And like I looked it up on Wikipedia. The girl is like a one-page article on Wikipedia. He's like a 20-page article.
Oh,
And it's
wow.
yeah, and you're just like, I so that's the next movie, right? But
Gotcha.
because of that movie, I was led to Fatima. I was led to
Mhm.
this thing of, it was so silly to me. And I'll repeat it for people who maybe haven't seen the pitch, is when we talk about the evil eye, it's
Mhm.
like the blue symbol with the eye in the middle.
Right.
People often talk about this story where a woman was at home cooking dinner for her husband, and he came home with a new wife.
Right.
And she was like, oh, and she was so distraught that she shoved her hands into boiling water to sort of like show obedience. Now, I
Mhm.
heard that story. I was like, bullshit.
Right. Exactly.
I know way too many women on a personal level, that an intimate level is like, there's no way. Even if she was polyamorous, she was not going to do that. There's no way.
Yeah. Grab the handle of the pot and throw it at him. Like, yeah.
He didn't ask you? No, I don't think that's how you're going to respond to this.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because let's be real, there are polyamorous relationships, but I don't think that's how they would have reacted to this situation.
Right.
So that's what led me on to this adventure and this journey. And I'm telling you, man, when we were researching this story, we dug into the Sumerian cuneiforms. We were
Mhm.
looking at Dead Sea Scrolls. We were reading like ancient ancient stuff, anything we could get our hands on, until we found sort of like these pieces of a legend that lead to the story of Fatima. And for me, anytime like I'm writing, the thing that I'm looking for is like that vibration. Because what'll happen is like, I like to call it channeling because there's no other better word for it, but it's like I'm not thinking, I'm like listening. Like I just like shake, and it's like exciting, and it's like, oh, I think the universe is telling me what to write down here. These words aren't coming from me. I am just repeating something that I'm hearing. That's the goal for me. And Fatima, the whole time I've been creating this story, it's just been like, must get this out. And I live for that. As an artist, I feel like any real artist, when they're in the zone, they'll tell you it's channeling.
Absolutely.
There's that creative moment where you just tap the vibration of the universe and say, thank you. Thank you for this gift. I am so grateful. I hope I'm alive on the other end of this because I'm just going to get it out. And that's been an absolute blessing in this film.
Yeah, and when you get that moment, like that moment never comes when you're looking for it.
Nope.
It's spontaneous. It's spontaneous, and when it's there, you have to ride it until the wheels fall off. Like seriously, because you don't see it coming. And you don't know when or if it will come again. So when that happens, you have to milk it for all it's worth. So creatively, I know exactly what you're talking about. Now, speaking of creativity, I told you I was going to get to this, and I had to talk to you. I've only seen the trailer, but I can't wait to watch the movie, Killer Raccoons 2, Dark Christmas in the Dark. Please, just out of curiosity, what was the most satisfying part about making that entire movie?
Oh my God. So one of the most, dude, it's the whole film, but there's so many things that happen in this project. And the first thing is the director told me he had taxidermied raccoons. Taxidermied. I was like, cool. Taxidermy raccoons. We'll kind of puppet them around. I showed up to set, and he goes, hey, my raccoon guy should be here soon. I was like, raccoon guy?
Yeah.
What do you mean by raccoon guy? And this Ohio trapper shows up with dead frozen raccoons in a refrigerator. And I say, you said taxidermied, man. You telling me I have to look my crew member in the eye to go get gloves on and grab a dead raccoon out of a freezer in the back? He's like, that's what I'm telling you. And if you could get them to do it with a smile on, I would appreciate it. So we had interns, these kids from college with gloves and like full suits on, like miming these frozen... They have guns at one point, man. So we're having to like strap guns to them and like outfits. And mind you, these are bad raccoons. These are raccoons that had like the cops called on them. You know, they were stealing people's garbage. They were biting people. These weren't good raccoons. They deserved what happened. But that was like, I had to go home after that night to be like, I just need a minute. Like, I don't know. The other crazy thing about that project was I told you I was the DP and the producer. I had a lot of hats on that project. Right. So I was integral for a lot of the hiring processes, a lot of the scouting. And the day I got introduced to my gaffer was sort of the first day we were doing a scout. And I found out on our scout that he was an ex-Marine, that he had done like 2 tours. And I was like, oh shit, okay. I respect that, like on a very personal level. Like I respect that. And we were standing outside one point, just kind of like staring at a rock wall, trying to see if we could use it as a fake cliff, which you'll see is in the movie. It actually ended up making the movie. And the dude popped out a blunt, started rolling it without like just out of thin air, like freaking Gandalf, right? Sparks it, starts smoking. And he looks at me. He's like, don't ever go to war unless you can win. filmmaking is a battle. Every day is a battle. And if you don't think you can win it, don't go.
Right.
I was like, okay. He's like, I think we can win this war, man. And I was like, shit, that's all the confidence I need. And like, we jumped in the back of a car and we're riding down the street. And I think we're headed to like get dinner or something after that scout. And he turns to me again and he's like, the movie's already shot. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? I think you're high, man. Like, no, man, the movie's already shot. Our timeline just needs to catch up. It's already shot. It's already successful. It's already done. We just got to ride that wave now and live it through. And I don't know what it was about that level of confidence that I was just like, I needed that. All right, let's do it. And that dude and I mean, it was him and I, that whole project. A lot of people did a lot of great things. Our first AC Dylan, she was an absolute genius with the camera. I loved working with her. But this man, oh my God. If you can ever get an ex-Marine to be on your project, highly recommend it. They just have a certain level of understanding of what it takes that you can't find anywhere else.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't surprise me because I know when I did a crime recreation show, and the guy that was showing us,
I watched that.
Yeah, the guy
You're so good in that.
Thank you, I appreciate it. But the guy who was our stunt choreographer, I think he's a former Marine. And I mean, he was and we talked, and his mindset is something crazy. I mean, it's just like he would just pretty much the same thing you said. He take filmmaking terminology, put some military lingo in there, and before you know it, we all want to run through a wall.
You were ready.
That's just the truth. Yeah.
You were ready. You were ready. He was like, "We're shooting in the snow. Let's do it. Put an extra layer on." I'm like, "Yes, sir. Yes, sir."
Yep.
He also taught me, we're filmmakers are idiots. We say copy when we should be saying Roger. He taught me that. He was like, every filmmaker he's ever met uses his term wrong. Copy means, hey, I'm going to go get that C-stand. Copy that means you are also going to get that. It literally means you're going to copy what they're doing. If they say, hey, I'm going to go grab that C-stand, you go, Roger that. Confirmation. That's it. I don't know why it got so corrupted in our filmmaking that I've tried to teach everybody that I work with, like, hey, let's use the correct terminology. Except for I was on a really loose production about a year and a half ago, and we changed it to party. So it'd be like, hey, man, I'm going to go get that C-stand. It'd be like, party. I don't know why we just thought that was the funniest thing ever. But speaking of Marines, best AD I've ever worked with was a Marine. We had two ADs on the project. Our first AD, she did most of the project, and she was fantastic. I had nothing against this woman, but she was the type of AD that was like, you got 5 minutes, and you have 3 now. And it's like, God damn, okay, I'm on it. You know, like, shoot, no nonsense. He would show up and go, hey, what's preventing us? We good? How are we feeling, everybody? Are we all right? All right, let's get moving. He could control everything without even raising his voice. And it's just something in their vibration, their rhythm, as we said before, that you were like, I want to dance with you. I like that energy. I'm willing to work in 3 minutes now because you're not yelling at me because you don't need to yell. You know I'm going to snap too. And it was just something about that I've always carried with me is the more bees with honey type of thing, you know, like unless somebody's really messing up, I don't raise my voice. I won't curse at employees or anybody I'm working with unless I absolutely have to. I got you.
Now I was going down your IMDb.
Sure.
And I was looking at some of your many credits. You've done so many things and so many different you've worn so many hats, man. Cinematographer, director, actor, producer, writer, editor, assistant camera. The list goes on and on and on. Here's something I had to ask you.
Yeah.
You acted in a film, I think it was called 3 Pregnant Men.
Yeah.
Please, have at it.
3 Pregnant Men was It was a faux documentary.
Hmm.
The premise of the film is they brought me on to be unit production manager and producer.
Hmm.
It was a micro budget feature. We shot it in 21 days, and they found out that I was an actor and that I had studied acting. And being a micro budget feature, they're like, we forgot to cast one of the like tertiary supporting characters. And I was like, I could do it if you want me, like took my headset off,
Right.
changed my shirt. I don't even need makeup. I'm pretty. Let's go. So I hopped in the scene and did it. And the other actor and I still talk. It was like the most fun just jumping in a scene like that. But that movie, the premise is that science has advanced far enough along that we could impregnate men, and it being like a fake documentary, it was sort of this like sad comedy about what would happen if three men were impregnated.
Right.
And a lot of the film went more the route of like how would society react.
Hmm.
Not well. And I think that's pretty honest. I don't think society really wanted that type of thing to happen.
Right.
It's a great film. It's very funny, but also oddly heartwarming for like a comedy of that nature,
Yeah.
And a lot of credit to the director is it still carries this like kind of strong feminist vibe to it, where one of the things that the film tries to talk about is, does a woman have to be masculine to be powerful? And does a man have to be effeminate to be compassionate?
Right.
And it's like, or are these roles sort of antiquated at this point, And I think that was a cool exploration. I don't want to give too much away about the film, as that could, but it's a part of the film that I really enjoyed that he attempted to do. My scene is very quick if you watch it. The basic role is that my wife and I were unable to conceive, so the lead actor was carrying our surrogate. And we were a part of the experiment as he was carrying my child. And I was just like, sure, yeah, how quick is this scene? It's not my top build IMDb, but it's in there. I like it.
Right.
Another film I acted in that was so wild, I don't know if you saw it, was Noah, Aronofsky's movie.
I haven't looked at it, but I'll check it out. Definitely will.
Very interesting film. So I'm in Noah, but I was casted as what's called Special Talent Select. Have you ever heard of this classification?
I never have.
No, I thought they invented it. I'm pretty sure they did. So the film had over, I think, 5,000 extras.
Oh, man. Wow.
Yeah. And there were huge war scenes. And so my main job was they had the A-list talent, me, and then the 5,000 extras. And there was like a crew of like 10 of us. And we were all spread out, and we were given special clearances. And our main idea was that when we acted, we would be right behind the lead talent. But we were also keeping an eye out for any crazies, anybody causing any danger, because they could not be embedded in the talent. So we were to just keep track of people, and if needed, shove people off if they were getting too close. Like, it was a really bizarre role to be in, because you had like basically completely embedded like PA actor something. Like, it was just like, I don't know what my job is, but I'm just gonna keep him safe. I'm gonna stay safe. Like
PA/actor/key grip/
it's so silly, man. And like that film, there was on more than one occasion I was eye to eye with Aronofsky, looking and talking to him, and over the dumbest things. It would just be like how to get all these background actors to be in the right position at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the first time I had ever had this happen. Aronofsky and I had talked, and then he had kind of talked to the other special talent selects, and then they had talked to the background actors. Mm-hmm. And then the first AD came out and contradicted what Aronofsky said. And I said, hey, that's not correct. And like a cartoon, everybody backed up 5 steps, and I was left alone staring down the first AD of this like $300 million movie. I was like, sir, having to then defend myself speaking against him. And he got heated. And then Aronofsky came out of his tent and was like, no, he's correct. What I told him, I don't know why and basically corrected his first AD. And I was like, I'm going to go get some lemonade while you all figure this out. Like, I don't want any part of him getting fired. Bye.
Oh man, that's awesome. Well, JT, what's next for you besides Fatima? And tell our viewers where they can find you on social media.
So, main thing for social media, you can find me either JT Schindler. That's like a big one. I just use my name. The other thing is Nobody Creative, which I'll spell that out for you because it's KNOWBODY Creative. Next steps for me is we're doing Fatima first. And then I actually have a ongoing conversation right now with Sony India. And the idea is that we could start shooting features either in Malaysia, India, or other areas of South Asia.
Nice.
I'm speaking with a crew in Malaysia, and what we want to do next is shoot Who Has Done This in Malaysia. We're very excited, like an old Agatha Christie novel, but in Malaysia. Working on the script right now. It's got that vibration thing. I got people excited about it. So that's, next steps for me is get back to India probably this summer, do scouting for Fatima, get that totally locked in, shoot that in, I'm hoping, October. We've had a fairly successful crowdfunding. We're going to do a couple grants here pretty soon for that. Then I move on to the Malaysian feature. In the meantime, I got a novel coming out. I'm busy, man. I'm writing a novel right now, which I hope everybody will read. I'm really happy about this novel. And then I got my second son coming April 4th. I'm going to be a dad again.
Congratulations.
And thank you, man. Thank you. My first son, I cried and I hugged my wife. I was so excited. My second son, my wife told me, I went, oh, fuck. Another one? Really? But no, I'm very excited. Doing the dad thing, just staying creative. And look, anybody who's watching, Velvet, if you're interested, I do produce, I do EP. If you need money, let me find it for you. That's a huge thing I like doing. I consider that my day job, is just finding people money. So if you have a project, hit me up. Let's talk. I can at least help you get your pitch out the door.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, man. I have had a ball talking to you. I know this is not going to be the last time you and I talk. You are more than welcome to join and be interviewed here on THESPIANWERX anytime you want to. Anytime you have a project that you're working on, that you've done, that you've completed, that you want to get out there for people to know what it is, please be, you're more than welcome. The door is always open to you.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely, man. I have had a ball talking to you. Congratulations in advance on your son about to be born. That's awesome. I level with my daughter right now. She's eating dinner in front of me. So,
oh, that's so sweet. That's sweet. Yeah. I'm gonna let that side out of me. Oh,
yeah. Yeah. Oh man, ladies and gentlemen, this has been THESPIANWERX with Anthony Velvet Hall. Once again, I want to thank my guest, Mr. JT Schindler, for joining me. And as always, everybody, please remember 3 things: life is short, death is certain, and be sure to love on the people God gives you, because one day He's gonna want them back. All right, everybody, take care. God bless.